and welcome to this tutorial on what I use to draw and tips in SAI. First off, I'm just going to open something I've been working on. Where is it? We'll just get this because, yeah. Okay, now, first off, lining. When I've transferred a sketch, I use OneDrive to do that. I put a layer above it and set my stabilizer to 7. Stabilizer just means your brush will be slower than your actual pen movements. So when I line, it's gonna be this fast. So yeah. Also, if this is just my style because I like to do like squarey stuff. Well, when you're actually doing any kind of fur, do fur something like that. Well, that's just how I do fur. Just don't do this. That's just terrible. And now here's the finished liner of my piece of art. It's not the whole body because I really don't have the time. So just delete that sketch layer. Okay, now when I'm colouring, I'm not sure if any other artists do this or it's just me, but what I like to do is put a new layer underneath, go to my line art layer, just name it line art, and then I want to click this magic wand tool over here. It's literally like a magic wand. I click on the outside. Well, if that happens, if you get blue everywhere, which means there are holes in your drawing, you just want to close them up because I'll explain to you later. Okay. Ah, for goodness sake. This is the most frustrating part for users of Paint or SAI. I don't know if you use Photoshop or any other program. Ah! Okay, so once I've done this, like lined it all in, I've selected on the outside, which means this bit is just white, and I've selected on the inside. Now let's click selection and invert. That means that I can draw only on this inside. So we're just gonna make this cat ginger, because why not? See? Anything that is in the selection can be drawn on. And you clear the selection. And then you just go over here and click preserve opacity on that layer. It basically means that anything I draw on this layer, I can't draw outside of it. So if I wanted to just colour this bit in, it wouldn't go outside. Okay. Okay, so here I've just coloured everything in. What I did was simply just get a smaller size brush, which is over here. You can change the sizes and just simply fill them in. Okay, so now for the shading. Between the line art and the colouring, just name that colouring. You will want to make another layer and press clipping group. Now, depending on what color your character is, you'd like to choose a very suitable color. I think a dark green would be suitable for shading, because what we're going to do in a minute, this may look bad, but what we're going to do is, you see this bar here, basically it's the opacity. It makes things fade, or I don't know how to explain it. So if we just do that shading there, we can fade it down, and it actually just looks a bit better. I'm just gonna skip ahead to once I've done all the shading, and then I'll show you a few other methods of shading. Oh, and I forgot to mention that when you're shading, wait, you want the shading to come from a directional point. So say the sun was here, nope, wait, here, this is what I'm doing now. The sun would be hitting him, well, this cat, on these areas. So just a little tip to point out there. Now just quickly, I'm going to just show you how I shade. So when you've got areas like this, for example, or if you've got, say if you've got hair like that, what I tend to do is I like to use the shading and just, what happened? Just use the shading here and make a sort of circle, I suppose. And it's the same with other hair. If you do the shading like that and then just colour all this in, it'll still work. Okay, so now we're done with the shading. I've done this all on the shading layer. That's just a tip to remember. Just do it all on the shading layer, otherwise life is just going to be a big mess. Turn down the opacity to whatever suits you. I think this is okay. And then, yeah, that's pretty much how I shade. Now, there is another method of shading. If we just keep it like this, if you don't like this format, if you don't like this cartoony style and want to give it a more organic look, just get the blur tool and blur it in. Gives it a more natural look, I suppose. Normally I would do this, but I'm sort of enjoying having a cartoony style. This just makes it look just a bit more 3D and make it look like the sunlight is actually like really hitting the cat's face. There. So we're just gonna leave it like that for now, but say if you had shading such as this, the more cartoony style, there is a tip to make your drawing even better. So you go onto the line art layer and click preserve opacity. Preserve opacity. Then you get a darker color than the actual skin of the cat. So like here, you get your ink pen or whatever you like to use and just go over. I personally like doing this because it just makes it look more eccentric, I think. But yeah, it's a really good way to improve your drawing, showing that you know the basics of light. And if you want to actually show the light bouncing off, then get a nice pale colour like up there. Get your ink pen and just go here. That should really give your drawing some life. make it feel more real. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how I do most of my drawings in Intous. I think later on I will post another one showing how I do backgrounds. It's not as good, but meh. And what I use is Ice Cream Screen Recorder, which is free to download, and Intous is free if you know where to look. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it helped, and bye.